So are we actually going to do this? Yeah, we are. Let's go.
I think today we need to have some real conversation. I had some plans to do a podcast episode on different strategies and some of the things for making cash and growing your business and scaling, and they're going to come out for sure. But I wanted to pivot a little bit and do a short but really impactful in my thought process right now and very needed episode because I'm seeing a pattern. And anytime I start to notice some patterns around my clients, myself, my business friends, other business owners, even in our Facebook group, the society, I try to pay attention to it because when those patterns come up, it's very important that one, we acknowledge them, and two, we address them and really decide how are we going to handle this. And this is the truth that I'm seeing and the pattern that I'm seeing. Women entrepreneurs, women business owners are going through a lot. It is not easy to be a business owner. It's not easy to own a business, to start a business, to grow a business, and to do all the other things that that inevitably are piled onto our plates. We are very happy to be here and carrying them all. Definitely. Don't get me wrong, we're not complaining, but our feelings are not separate from business and family and all the things that we do. And I've noticed right now in the last few weeks with the conversations that I've had and the coaching calls that I've had that there's a lot of exhaustion, overwhelm, and doubt happening. And it's showing up in our results. And we're feeling lots of guilt and blame and frustration. And I want to just talk about it because it is literally been entire hours of coaching that was supposed to be strategizing and scaling and growth and conversations about the future. But we can't even get to those conversations and those strategies without talking through what is happening with our emotions, with this overwhelm, with this frustration. And it's really important that we pause and talk about emotions and why they matter in business, how to become aware of them, and how to leverage them to grow profitably and sustainably and without this exhaustion mode. You probably have heard the lie. It's a lie. Let's just say it. That feelings do not belong in business. Keep emotions out of it. Just be consistent. Push through. And that's great. And some days we do have no choice but to push through, to just show up, to try to keep the emotions at bay or the feelings. And we do that. Don't get me wrong. We have all pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps and said, nope, not today. I just got to do it anyways. But here's the reframe: our experiences, emotions, and intuition are a part of your brilliance as a woman entrepreneur. You being a multifaceted, multi-passionate, multi-emotional level person is part of your superpower. The ability to experience highs and lows and viewpoints that others do not even see or experience is a part of what makes you amazing and gives you this next level of service, of understanding, of insight, just so many things. Like the list can go on and on. And I want you to, if you're feeling this way, maybe you're in a season where you're like, I'm coming into the fourth quarter and it's supposed to be super abundant, and all I'm feeling is lack and exhaustion and frustration and overwhelm and blocks here. And this thing came up at home, and I'm dealing with this with my kids and this with my spouse, whether you're going through a divorce, or maybe your business partner is not treating you correctly. Maybe you have a child that is having a lot of extra issues at school, or maybe having a flare up of some kind with their health. I mean, there's just, the list is long. I could spend 25 minutes just walking you through some of the things that my clients are going through, and they're hard things. They're real things. And it is not easy to just, oh, just because I sat down in front of my computer and opened it up and logged into the back end of my systems doesn't mean I'm instantly putting all these other things down. So I want you to look at my feelings and my emotions are signals, not weaknesses. They Because we are emotional, we often get labeled as weak. That feeling of when you burst into tears, you're like, I'm so embarrassed and I'm crying because it feels vulnerable and weakness, but it's actually a superpower a power of yours. And it's a signal for you to pay attention to this emotional data that you're feeling and how can we leverage it for the next level? How can we leverage it for the more that we want, more time, more energy, more income, more fulfillment, whatever it is? When we ignore our feelings, when we ignore those emotions, when we just stuff them down and just say, nope, I'm going to push through and I just got to get over it. It's not, it's not about me, all those things, it can really damage the growth and attention that you have in the next phase of your business. Just sharing a very personal story, when I was launching my first group program, I was really just struggling with some emotional and physical stress. We were going through quite a bit of things with our family and navigating some trauma, and also me physically, I was not in a good, healthy place. I had some serious infections that I did not know about that hadn't been addressed yet. So my level of ability and energy was just really, really low. And so having to deal with the emotional trauma and navigate all of these things with our family, plus having physically low energy, it just really made it difficult to like sit down and do any work. But I was so determined, like, I'm going to launch this program. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do, like, I've got to do what my coach is telling me and how she said to do it and all these things. So I did it. I pushed through. I launched, and I crashed right after that. And guess what happened during that launch? Nothing. Nothing happened. It was like I spoke to a wall. It was so disconnected. N- Everything that I was hoping that would happen did not happen. Not one person bought. People came, people talked to me, but it just felt like I was underwater going through all of that. And I crashed halfway through the launch that was supposed to be a 2-week process, and I just physically and mentally and emotionally couldn't do it at all. And so that experience of launching a group program and having nothing come from it was really discouraging, and it made me question, maybe I shouldn't even do this. Maybe I shouldn't be a coach. Like, maybe I shouldn't be a business owner. I just started questioning everything, right? And if you've had that experience where you've tried so hard, you showed up, you pushed through, and still nothing happened, my friend, I see you, I feel you. It's happened to me, and it happened recently again, and it'll happen again in the future. It's not anything that needs to define us. But what happens is we start to get really all up in our feelings and blaming ourselves, and that mean girl chatter turns on, and it is rough. Oh, my mean girl in my head, she is so ugly. And I would totally, totally stand up for my best friend if she was talking to her like that she does to me in my head. But we let that happen, and now we're like, let that define us, and now it's limiting us. And so this spiral effect happens when we ignore our emotions, when we ignore the signals, when we ignore the data, and we don't say, hey, what's going on? And how do I navigate through this? And This journey of being an entrepreneur for 15 plus years and working with dozens of women in business has really taught me to pay attention. In coaching calls, I'll sometimes stop halfway through or maybe right at the beginning or whenever I notice it and say, "Hey, what's going on? I see that there's a lot of contraction here. Um, Tell me what you're feeling around this." And I use the words contraction and expansion a lot in my coaching. And I would want my clients to even use them back with me as we're talking through what is happening. Because when we pay attention to that contraction and the expansion feelings, that is going to help us to reframe and adjust to work within alignment of where we are in this moment and not ignore the signals that are going on. So when I say expansion and contraction, this is what I mean. Contraction is when you're feeling like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. When you're feeling like blocking and you're feeling tired, you're feeling like, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. That feels hard. And contraction isn't bad. It's just a feeling. And I just want you to notice it. Notice that like closed off feeling. I a lot of times see it in body language, even when they're not intending to, where I'll be talking and all of a sudden I watch them on Zoom. Suddenly their shoulders kind of squeeze together. They sink away from the camera. They may like slouch lower in their chair. Their head goes down. They start to fidget, and I can instantly tell, oh, they don't want to do this. This is not feeling good. This is feeling very contracted. On the flip side, like going to the opposite side of the spectrum, expansion means I'm like, oh yeah, I'm lit up by this. I feel excited. I feel like clarity. Their eyes get bigger. They start to lean towards the camera with like their shoulders more open, their arms are open, their head and neck are expanded. And I can just tell, like, yes, this feels so doable. The path is clear. The understanding is open. There's no hesitation. It might not be like know everything about it. You don't. Expansion doesn't always come when we have like every little detail mapped out, but it comes when we're like, yes, this is the way I'm supposed to be going, and this is the path I'm supposed to be on. So when we pay attention to those expansion and contraction feelings as signals, then it can give us the opportunity to understand how to clarify and move forward. Because when we notice those signals, we don't have to live there. Okay, remember I think a couple weeks ago I said something about how we got pitching a tent and living here now with these emotions. We don't have to stay there because we can keep repeating that same feeling and keep, that standard of our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our responses and our responses create our actions. And we don't want to be starting from these negative places. However, we can pause to reframe and adjust and ask, what do I need? So when I see someone starting to go into contraction mode, whether it's from business or from personal things or family things or outside circumstances, it's really important to bring awareness there to say, okay, what do you need where you're at? What do we need to bring security and safety back to you? We might not be able to change all of the situation, all of what's going on. Some things are definitely, like, obviously not in our control. But what is in my control? And how can I generate those feelings of safety and asking myself, what will make me feel secure again? What will make me feel like I can have this again? Maybe the contraction is I'm just low on energy. My energy is off. And so everything I'm doing in execution for my business is suffering. Okay, fair. I've been in seasons like that. It just feels like no matter what I do, it's just off. And I don't want to keep doing it because it's not producing any results that I want. So it's actually a great time to pause and say, okay, I see my energy is off. How do I get my energy back to where I need it to be? What can I do? And what do I have available in my time, in my space, in my capacity right now? And I know there's again, this question is very relative to the situation that you're in. So let me just give you some examples. When earlier this year, I was really feeling a little bit of stuck energy and just feeling like nothing else was working. I realized I had gone into like hyperdrive work mode where I was working really long days. I wasn't going outside at all. I was sitting at my desk pretty much all day. I was barely standing up to go to the bathroom to go eat because I was just in constant work mode. And I love my work. I love coaching. I love working with the women that I get to work with. It is the honor of my life to be able to walk beside these women in business. They're so brilliant. But I was sacrificing my own mental health by staring at my screen all day. And what I realized I was needing was just something very simple of get up and go outside, take a walk, put your feet in grass or in the pool. It was not anything really complicated. It wasn't a lot time consuming. It just was disrupting this pattern of feeling like I had to work nonstop in order to be successful. It's so easy to slip into that pattern. And then we overwork and then we burn out and then we get overwhelmed and then we get frustrated and then the business suffers. And so if you've ever had that, you say, okay, well, I see it. I am identifying it. And now what can I do to change it? Well, it's as simple as I'm going to every morning take a minute to go stand outside in the sunshine, even if it's only 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. My goal is 20, but not always can I make it, but I can do something. I can, when it's time to have lunch, I can block off time for lunch. That's the number one, another thing. Block off time on your calendar so you can take a break and then go outside and walk around the pool. Go, if it's raining, stand under the awning and just listen to the rain and don't have your phone with you. Take those mental breaks and take that vitamin D sunshine hit and see how that impacts you. It's so simple. Or eating better choices, or, just little things like this can sometimes just be so game changer. One of my clients just told me she's struggling with getting up out of bed and motivating herself to get to work. And she's just like, I just start scrolling because I really don't want to get started. And then an hour later, I've wasted my best time of the day with my best energy because I just don't want to get into work mode. And so she started as soon as she wakes up, she presses play on a meditation. And it's a short one, but she starts her day with a quick meditation and affirmations. And all of a sudden, her energy has shifted within just a few days' time. The difference is startling. So, how can you just do a quick check in and ask yourself, what do I need? Now, this is energy we just talked about. Another example might be, family or communication. So, if there's something big changing in your family, or maybe you feel like you're missing out, or maybe there's communication, ask yourself, what do I need so I don't feel these things anymore, or I'm not feeling lost, or what is it that we're not quite aligned with? And my husband and I have these regular check ins because we know when we are not regularly checking in and being in a neutral place, meaning we're not coming exhausted to each other, um, and having a conversation saying and doing a mental health check in and saying, how are you doing? Are you feeling good with our schedule? Are you feeling good with how we're communicating? Is there anything I can do? Here are some things I'm grateful for that you've been doing. And we come at it with clarity and conversation and openness, not in accusatory and frustration, because then nothing ever gets done. So asking those kinds of questions, what can I do that will can reconnect me with my family, my people? Do I need to take a pause? How do I restore these feelings to bring security and neutral abundance back into my space. Instead of feeling that contraction, I want to go into expansion. Maybe you've been really working hard and you took on a strategy that you're like, this is it. This is going to work. This is going to be the game changer. I'm doing everything that this coach told me or this expert told me. And maybe you hired somebody and you're just doing all the things. And on paper, it should be producing insane results, but it's not. That is exhausting and that feels very contracting. And so, how can I look at it and say, okay, what did I learn here? What can I check in on? Where has been the blocks? Is this still aligned? Do I want to keep doing and keep pushing and banging my head against the wall, or can I pivot? And sometimes this simple act of pressing pause for just a few minutes and asking yourself questions and leading yourself to expansion and leading yourself out of the contraction, identifying where the contraction is and saying, what do I need to do in order to get to the expansion I want to be in? Expansion in feeling abundant in my time, feeling abundant in my energy, abundant in my income opportunities, and abundant in fulfillment. When I do that, and when my clients do that, when I see them normalize this behavior and actively work on it, this is part of the holistic profitability of the for-profit system that is game changer. So I want you to take some of these quick tools and I'm just going to run through them of what sometimes we'll do with clients is we'll do check-in points. What is my check-in? Have I had a check-in? You should be regularly checking in with yourself. Is this still feeling expansive or did this go contracted? If it is feeling expansive, why? And how can I continue to stay in this expansive mode? If it's feeling contracted, can I identify why? And can I pivot and adjust and allow that to be something different for me? Or do I need to let it go? And that's everything from your household systems, your schedule, how you're working, your amount of hours that you're working, the strategy you're using. Just use check-in points. Where am I feeling contracted? Look for that. And look for where you're feeling expansive too, because that can also show you other opportunities to be more expansive. Also look at the red light, green light system will be sometimes a way to identify the expansion or the contraction in different categories of my life and business. So I'll lay out different categories of, okay, let's look at my admin side. Let's look at marketing, sales, client service. Then I'll move into my home. Let's go into the household, family relationships, my own personal relationships, my mental health, my physical health. Okay, I'll list out all of the different categories of things that I'm responsible for ultimately in our home and in our business and in our life. And then I can go through and just quickly, no brainer. Is this green? Am I aligned and growing and feeling good? Or is this red? This doesn't feel good. This is a warning signal. I'm feeling exhaustion and just quickly identify those. And then I want to integrate my feelings into the strategies. So let's go to, like, for instance, if my sales is feeling draining and it's in the red zone. Okay, it's time to tweak what I'm doing. What does that look like? Does that mean I need to stop selling things altogether? Does that mean I need to change my offer? Does it mean I need to tweak my messaging? There's sometimes simple solutions just waiting to be found in that contracted feeling. And sometimes just the smallest pivot of saying, oh, this doesn't feel aligned. I can release this and move here and use this strategy instead. It just makes it reopen the flow and we can keep moving forward. And then permission slip. This permission slip is something that I did a podcast episode on this in our old podcast, the Brilliant Mompreneurs podcast that I used to have. And it was write yourself a permission slip. Literally write a permission slip, like your child who says, I give my son permission to go on that field trip. You need to do that for yourself. I give myself permission to what? Fill in the blank. And honor and validate yourself. Give yourself permission to press pause and take a lunch hour. Give yourself permission to say the day is done. Give yourself permission to fire a bad client. Give yourself permission to hire the person you really actually need to hire. Give yourself permission to hold somebody accountable. There's so many ways that we can give ourselves permission, but we hold ourselves back because we're saying, "Oh, I should be different. I should change. I know I shouldn't be this way." Well, maybe we can ask that question too, but don't just assume that it's all on you. We can do small tweaks. So I want you to notice when you feel contracted versus expanded in your business, in your life. Write it down. Look for patterns. Use your emotional data to help you understand how you can improve every single week. This is not the excuse episode to say, oh, well, I'm contracted, so I'm not going to show up. No, it's to identify, oh, I am contracted. How do I go back into expansion mode? How do I shift out of this? And how do I stop pitching this tent to live here? Your feelings are not the enemy of your business, they're the map. When you learn to read them, look for that expansion, look for that contraction, you unlock clarity, confidence, and the profit you truly want. This at the core is the game changer I've seen over and over again for my own personal business growth and for my clients as they grow, is to just use these emotions, these feelings, these things that come up, these triggers, these blocks, instead of running into them or avoiding them or being scared of them. What if we leverage them to help guide us to that next level and to release us into that profitability in all four areas of time, energy, income, and fulfillment, to have the most abundant and successful life we can create for ourselves? Emotions involved too. So if that's how you've been feeling this month, this week, this year, whatever it has been for you, or maybe you felt this way in the past, use this tool of asking yourself, is this expansive? Am I feeling contracted? And then why? And then give yourself the opportunity to empower yourself and lead yourself back into expansion. Oh, that is the coolest thing ever when I see a client lead themselves and empower themselves to step back into expansion and to be creative and thoughtful and unique and solution oriented. That is what women are really good at. We are so good at that. So if you're feeling that contraction, if you've already identified it in this conversation, I want you to ask yourself those questions. And if you're not sure how to get out of it, send me a DM. Let's chat. My favorite thing in the world to do is brainstorm. And if I can help with that, I would love to. If you're thinking about, okay, I want to learn how to empower myself more, I want to have somebody on my team supporting me like this, I would love to chat. I'd love to give you an invitation to work with me in Empowered for More, which is our signature program for women entrepreneurs scaling to six figures, or one-on-one consulting, the work that I do with my clients who are scaling to multiple six and seven and eight figures now. So we have spots available. And if you're craving this kind of support, I'd love to talk. But first, you can do it with yourself. You absolutely can, my friend. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next week on another episode.
Thanks for actually joining us today. I hope it inspired you to actually take the action to step into the empowered CEO that you are and getting more of the results that you want. Before you go, I have a quick favor. Leave us a review and take a screenshot of this episode and share it with your friends and on your favorite social media channels. Don't forget to tag us, the podcast, and Lani J. Jackson. And we'll see you next week on another episode.